Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. I hope you're having a fantastic, phenomenal day. We're taking a quick look here again at Bitcoin, seeing what's going on. Definitely broke through that key level resistance with heavy liquidation. CPI data came in above expectations. That absolutely helped push the market in the right direction here. So kind of give it that little nudge. Quick congrats to our community members here. Of course, this is kind of how our community is feeling today. Good stuff there with 31% Bitcoin. Long from, I think we got in at, if I'm not mistaken, 95,800. And then, of course, the Dogecoin long too as well, 22% up. Both those are taken in the last 20 hours. So that's good stuff. Again, remember I mentioned yesterday, don't put a lot of emphasis on patterns, especially pennant type of patterns. These have a lower success rate, but it's still higher than 50-50, right? But again, on the same accord, the price broke out mainly because of liquidation. So if you take a look here from my yesterday's analysis, this guy right here, sorry, I probably scrolled a little too far. Here we go. That's Bitcoin liquidation from yesterday. Remember I mentioned 97.5 to 98.5, but basically 99,000 is going to get hit. And it did. Okay. Now, again, that's not the sole reason, but it's a very strong, distinct probability that that's the reason why. Okay. Again, not everything has to do with it, but a lot of things together, so to speak. Okay. Anyways, kind of throwing it out there so you understand that there's a little bit of fundamentals here, some patterns, but more importantly, just the typical greed thing where market maker is going to push the price action to those liquidation levels. Short squeezes occurred there. A lot of folks got stopped out, and the price went higher because they're trying to reclaim those shorts by buying back in. Okay, so that's kind of how that works. So anyways, take a look at the back end data here for today. Kind of see where we're at here. We can see, of course, that massive level liquidation got swept. There's new late shorts, of course, as per usual at 100,000, upwards of 103. There are previous shorts here at 103, just so you understand. So that's been existing for a while. And basically what that just means is that's not where people took shorts. Obviously, you can't do that because the price hasn't gone that high. These are stop losses and or liquidation events that will occur if the price crosses that level. So again, shorts, those are probably medium to lower leverage shorts, but that's still a thing, right? So 103,000 could be the next target there. We can kind of see that aggregate right there between 103 and 104. So that's kind of the next area of consideration if the price breaks 100,000. We take a look here at liquidation long delta. It is obviously high. We're up to about 8 billion now. Now, on average, what I've noticed with Bitcoin, after looking at the liquidation delta, pretty much day in and day out for years, the average, when you see the price action spike like this, it's best not to short into it. I recognize shorting into a key level resistance of 100,000 seems practical, which it is. I'm not opposing that specifically. But just say we break 100,000 and this liquidation delta continues to remain high. You don't want to fight against that. It doesn't make a ton of sense because, again, majority of people are trying to take longs. The market is moving up. You go in the direction of the trend, right? Now, when this stays too high for too long, 3 or 4, maybe 5 days, that's a different story altogether. So if this maintains itself for the next, 3 to 4 days, liquidation deltas, sky high leading into the weekend, then we might actually see a correction. But between now and then, this is still too early. You do not short this coin at this point. It just doesn't make a ton of sense based on what we're seeing here so far with the price action and the volume. Having said that, though, let's quickly look at open interest. I'm curious where folks are heavy the most. And we can kind of see here 95,000, 97,000, and 98, and 99. Pretty much all the round numbers there. We see pretty heavy concentrations, but 95,000 is roughly where we got in there. A good place to consider just based on the fact that the price action retested that recent high with a new low. And again, you can see it pretty clear as day here. I highlighted this yesterday. When you break through a resistance here that was tested multiple times, the price broke out, it inevitably came back down to retest. That's essentially where we got in for a long. Okay? And that's the kind of trading you want to take. That is trading with confirmation. While it isn't a guarantee 100%, the reason why we're here in profit is because that occurred though. Okay, keep that in mind. All right, so again, never perfect, but generally speaking, you're going to increase your odds of success waiting for that confirmation. And keep in mind too, folks, oftentimes you're going to wait for confirmation and it either doesn't happen because the price continues to run without you, or it could, in fact, in some cases, go back the opposite direction just based on a lot of other factors. But for the most part, you're going to find more statistical probabilities, trading in that direction, right? So the current trend is up. I identified yesterday as well. This massive doji candle here was an indication that the bottom is tentatively in. We saw an extra bit of greed here down to the 89, 90,000 range. Super glad I was able to average my position in there. And then, of course, we can see here we're back up over the 20-day SMA, officially closing above that yesterday. Excellent news. It was a good start, okay? Now, it's not like guaranteed we're taking off, but we do have 97.5 as that local area of support as well, with the 50-day SMA hanging out there too. So we're above all important SMAs here for the moment, at least the ones that I value the most on these time frames. And we're back up over 50 in the RSI too. I mentioned this yesterday. We were peaking above 50 in the RSI, looking pretty good. Stochastic swinging up, MACD's converging. A lot of reasons why we're back on track here. Now, does this mean you go hard and long to the moon? In short, no, but also yes. I'll explain here in a minute. Let's take a look at the 4-hour first of all. And quickly recognize this here too. We can see we're over both moving averages. I mentioned there was a lot of confluence here at this $95,000 mark with both moving averages hanging out right there. That is like a perfect storm. If you've ever heard the term golden cross, that's a form of one. While it's not exactly the one that people refer to, because that's the 200 SMA and the 50, this in a sense is very similar. Okay, at least it carries a lot of weight. So that gave me more confidence taking along at that support. We can also see here as well, if we take a look at the RSIs, we can recognize that we're getting close to 70 here. So we have potential for pullback or breakout. Now again, if the price were to pull back, and we touch on this here because folks were asking, how far it might pull back to what the support levels are. I'll address this in our playout charts with our Twitter, Telegram, Discord. Actually, more specifically too, in case you're not familiar, trade alerts, I kind of gave you a heads up on our Dogecoin and our Bitcoin trades. And the previous resistance level is that 97 and 98.5K range. So I'm speculating that's going to be the new support if the price pulls back. Anyways, I'll post a new trade alert there, of course, to our community. But if you can see here, we can see this recent resistance where the price action wicked out about 6 or 7 times before it broke out. I would say 97.5 is that local support. It also aligns itself with this golden pocket. So 97.5 and secondary to that, roughly 95.3. Okay. Once more, I'll highlight that later. Now, as far as the RSI being right at 70 here, just kind of talk about this here. Generally speaking, that's a place in which people will short often, just because it's overextended and there's no reason for it to continue higher because people feel like it's overbought, right? That's generally the concept. But with money flow index being right there with it, it shows we have a lot of sustainability here. So the price action may not pull back very hard. In fact, what we're hoping for is for the RSI to slowly taper off, the price goes sideways, and we see one more leg up again. That looks a lot like this here. You can kind of see this breakout type of pattern, how cool that looks. This guy is essentially making higher lows, parallel highs, and it typically breaks out. So ideally, we're going to see a very similar scenario there too at 100,000, and then the price takes off and probably doesn't look back because we got that liquidation range at 103 to 104. So those are some top profit targets I'm going to be looking for. Between now and then, if the price does pull back, it would seem sensible to get in somewhere in the range of 97.5 to approximately 95.5. I'm just kind of giving you a ballpark there, but this little guy here is a support range for us. Taking a look here, this is probably going to be very indicative of further upside, which it is. Lagging spans free and clear, conversion lines above the baseline. There's no reason to short this coin, folks. There's absolutely no reason. If you hear people saying they're shorting at 100,000, that's literally all they're doing. They're doing no technical analysis because everything is telling us we're going to retest 100K and break through that. Okay, we've had this notorious resistance at 99.7/101, and in that range, again, we're going to need to consolidate and build up some volume. But for the most part, we have a lot of volume flowing in. Everything's looking pretty darn good here. If somebody is telling you there's a hidden bearish divergence or some crap like that, it's not true. There's nothing here telling us that. So that pretty much implies that taking a long seems to make the most sense, right? Obviously. Now, do you take a long into resistance? Generally speaking, you're not supposed to. The best practice would be for the price action to break above this level, retest it as per usual, and then that's where you get in with a bullish back test of that previous resistance range. All right. So again, just some things to kind of be mindful of and aware of. Okay. So I'll post our playout chart here shortly. I want to say thank you again so much for being an amazing part of my life. Thanks so much too as well. There's been some really cool comments and people just being really awesome with liking all the videos. It's super helpful. So really appreciate that. I'll always help you if all I ask in return is just hitting that like button every video. How about that? Really easy. Thanks again, folks. We'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.